Hey guys, so I'm just on my way to an RCD fault. The customer called up earlier this afternoon saying they had an RCD fault. Circuit is tripping intermittently, and they've already had one electrician come out and have a look at it and bill them $250, and they did not discover the fault. So I'm going to go there and actually discover the fault. And I also think I can get them out of paying the other electrician, because I think that guy needs to learn how to do his job, and shouldn't be charging customers for turning up and not knowing how to find a fault. So we're going to get there. I'll see if they're okay with this filming, and then we can make this education on how to fault find an RCD. So just about to get started on the fault finding. Apparently this RCD up here is tripping. Can you even see that? Anyway, it's basically three things it can be. The RCD can be faulty, current leakage neutral to earth, or current leakage phase to earth. They reckon it might be this power point causing it. So one thing I'm going to do is try running a load through that circuit. Oh no, she thought she'd turned it off by turning off this breaker here. Her theory was that this breaker up here had the fault, because since she's left that breaker off, it hasn't tripped. But let's just see if, yeah, the heat gun is on that circuit. So what the heat gun's doing is running a bit of current through the circuit, which, if it's a earth neutral fault, will make it trip. But yeah, that hasn't worked. So if it was a phase to earth fault, it would be tripping right now if the thing causing the fault was online. It could be a light or something that's not currently on. But if it's a earth to neutral fault, that should happen anyway. So the next thing I'm going to do is pull the neutral out from the RCD. It's this one. Okay, so even with that neutral out, it's not tripping. So I'm thinking it's probably the RCD that's faulty. I'll try putting it back in and running a bunch of current through it, because when it's a faulty RCD, usually that gets it. Okay, so I'm now thinking it's probably a faulty RCD, but I'm going to do a bit more testing. So next thing I'm going to do is, got all the circuits off. I'm going to do insulation resistance test to earth. I've pulled out that neutral, so that means there won't be any MEN link. So any continuity between phase and earth will be a fault. So that's over 1 mega ohm. That's over 1 mega ohm. And that's over 1 mega ohm, so it's not a phase to earth fault. So now I'll test to neutral. This is our neutral bar. That's over 1 mega ohm, so I'm more and more convinced it's a faulty RCD, which is tricky because it means I'll have to replace the RCD, and I haven't been able to get it tripped the whole time I've been here, so I won't actually know if I fixed it. So I came here thinking that Asked Electrician should have been able to figure it out, which I still think is the case, but I haven't actually been able to surface the fault. I've just ruled out it being a bunch of things, and that leaves me with it being a faulty RCD. So I got one more test I can do. Half test, it's on 30 milliamps, so let's try a ramp test. Let's see at what point it's tripping. $22 milliamps now. The RCD is doing fine. Can't get it to trip. All I can do is replace it. Okay, I've got one more test I'm trying because I really want to figure out what this fault is before I head off. I've pulled out the earth wires from this circuit. I've got current running, and I want to see if there's any voltage here. If there was, it should have been current and it should have tripped the RCD. So probably I'm not going to find anything here, but let's just see if we get anything. It's a tiny bit of voltage on this one. Oh, there's a bit of voltage on that one. 38 volts. Let's see if I get a spark when I touch it. try a low impedance voltage test. Probably it'll be nothing when I do that. 2 volts. 7 volts. 1.1 volts. It's probably just induced voltage, but I've done a fault like this at night and I could see a tiny bit of current flowing when I touched it. The fact that they're all getting a little bit says that's with low impedance voltage test. Yeah, it's like 70 volts, but when I go low impedance setting, it's like 2 volts. .5 volts. All right, yeah, I've given up on trying to surface a fault, so I'm just going to replace the RCD and hope that that removes the fault. The old one is 63 amps, and normally I'd like to use those, but I've only got a 40 amp one. There's only 50 amps worth of breakers on the circuit, and it's really unlikely it's going to go over 40 amps at any time. So it will be fine given maximum demand. Okay, I think I've found something actually. So I've pulled the neutral out, I've got my heat gun hooked up, and I've got the earths out. I was doing a low impedance voltage reading on these, and these two were getting, oh, let's see, what were they getting? 2, 10, and this one's getting 25 volts. So take that one that's getting 25 volts, touch it, and I'm getting sparks. There shouldn't be any sparks. So now I can go around and disconnect things until I find what's making that spark happen. All right, so what I'm doing is going around and disconnecting earths or unplugging things until I find the fault. These earths could actually have a tiny bit of voltage on them, so I've got to be careful. So this is almost the last thing to check. This is a heat pump that's powered by that circuit, which is doing the sparking on the earth. So if this does have the fault, I probably still will. Well, we can see how old it is and see if it's worth replacing or if it's under warranty. But I still think that the RCD replacement might fix it because I can't get it to trip. Yeah, that's got rid of the sparking. Okay, so we have located the fault. It was this heat pump here that the camera is sitting on right now. And yeah, so I just cut the earth in order to identify that. I got the circuit off. So when I was back there at the switchboard touching that earth wire and getting the sparking, when I cut this wire, the sparking went away. So I know this heat pump has a very mild earth neutral fault. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the neutral through the isolator. This is a 2-pole isolator here, so I can run the neutral through it. So if the RCD starts tripping again, like I said, it hasn't tripped for me the whole time I've been here. If it starts tripping, they can just come over here and turn the isolator off Obviously the heat pump won't go then, but that will remove the fault. And if it starts happening lots, then they'll have to get this heat pump looked at. I think it wasn't installed long ago, so it will still be under warranty. It's a Mitsubishi, so it's a pretty good unit, but some bugs could have made their way into it or something. Maybe I'll have a quick look inside of there while I'm at it. But it is getting pretty late and it's Friday afternoon. Oh, so yeah, run this neutral through the isolator. And I'm just going to open this up too and see if there's any obvious reason I can see that's causing that earth neutral fault. Don't see any bugs nests. Don't see any wires touching or with bad insulation. And the terminations look great. Could be something of the indoor unit too, but apparently this heat pump's not much older than a year or so old. So as I was fault finding, I was just leaving things disconnected as I went. And one of the things was and then I went around and reconnected everything after I thought I'd found the fault. And just after I put everything back together again, it started tripping. So I'm wondering if it's this heat pump. It's either this or the Califont. I think that I reconnected and then it started tripping, which I couldn't get it to trip the whole time before. So we will see if I'll run this through the isolator so they've got control over being able to move it through from the circuit. And we'll see if turning this isolator on and off affects the voltage I'm getting on that earth wire. Because I did notice when I was disconnecting things initially, the voltage was dropping, but I only considered it the fault. I only attributed the fault to the last thing that I disconnected, which totally removed the sparking. Yeah, so I'm still getting 9 volts on low impedance voltage. I'll just check that I've got everything else disconnected still. Okay, so I thought I'd remove the fault, started putting everything back together again, and then the RCD tripped. Carried on investigating, measuring voltage with the earth out and the neutral out of the RCD. And we were getting 230 volts on the high impedance voltage test. Now we're getting 186 after I disconnected another heat pump. So on low impedance voltage, that's 1.6 volts, which I don't know what it should be. I haven't done a lot of this sort of test, but it's still not zero. So there's obviously some amount of neutral earth fault going on, but the sparking's gone. So thinking it was that other heat pump, and we've dropped from 9 to 1.5 volts on the low impedance. So I'm thinking it was that fault. So I'll put that one through the neutral and hopefully that fixes it. Okay, so after a few false starts, I finally got out of there. It turned out 2 of the heat pumps were having an earth neutral fault. Yeah, I can't remember which bits I recorded, but yeah, as you can probably see on some of the footage, as I was thought I was packing up, and then it started tripping again. It didn't trip the whole time I was there, even with all my tricks I did to make it trip, such as pulling out the neutral and running the heat gun. Then started putting everything back together again, and it started tripping. So then I carried on fault finding and found 2 heat pumps, both on the same side of the house. When I disconnected the earths to those heat pumps, the fault went away. Well, I mean, my multimeter was measuring, I pulled the earth out for that circuit and pulled the neutral out of the RCD, and then had some loads connected in the circuit. And I was getting, when I did a high impedance volt test, I was getting 230 volts. So I just left it on that setting and went around disconnecting things until I had the other fault removed, and found I had to have 2 of the heat pumps disconnected to drop it down to 180, which translated to just over 1 volt when I did the low impedance test, and that stopped the sparking. So initially I found that when I had that earth wire and touched it, I was getting sparking. When I had those 2 heat pumps disconnected, their earths disconnected, then that sparking went away. There was still 180 volts at the high impedance test and 1.5 volts at the low impedance test. But then, so then I put it all back together again, but I wired the neutral for those heat pumps through, I wired the neutral for those heat pumps through the isolator. So all I have to do is turn the isolator off and the neutral's disconnected, which is as good as unplugging it from the circuit completely. Removes the earth neutral continuity that the fault was creating. So I have to have both of those isolators off to have the sparking gone and have that voltage gone. So that fault turned out to be way more difficult than I thought, and this might not be the end of this video, because there was another electrician that was called to this job at couple of months ago, and the guy did hardly anything, didn't get any of his tools out, and told them it was a multi-box causing the fault. So I'm going to reach out to this company and see if they would like to refund that lovely lady her $250, or if they would like to be named in this video. So let's see how that goes. Alright, so it's been a long time since I did this fault. I finally got around to editing it and posting it. I've been in touch with the electrical company that came and charged them for doing nothing. The guy got out of his van for all of 5 minutes, didn't get any tools out or do any testing, told them it's probably the multi-bucks, and then went and sat in his van, did some paperwork and drove off. They were billed $250 for that. So I've been in touch with that company. The guy whose company it is said that it was a holiday period and he didn't have many good guys available to send to the fault. I don't think that's an appropriate excuse. What I was saying to the customer was, you ordered a pizza, the delivery man showed up, didn't bring a pizza, and charged you anyway. So when you call out a tradie, they should come do the job and also know how to do the job. Otherwise, what are they charging you for? So I haven't actually heard if they've got a refund yet. I'm not going to name and shame, partly because I know the guy who runs that company, which I wasn't expecting, and partly because I think he'll do the right thing. So my takeaway from this fault is never rule out the idea that there could be 2 separate faults causing the issue you're trying to remove from the circuit, because that was confusing. And yeah, the measuring the voltage on the earth seems to be quite a good trick, because I really did not want to drive out of there without having to resolve the fault. They didn't need another drama of somebody telling them that it was probably something, driving off only to have the fault reoccur. So I'm very glad I was able to actually fix it for them. I hope you found that interesting and informative. Let us know what you think down in the comments. Help us out in the algorithm by hitting like and subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one.